Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hey, if you haven't tuned in before, I'm Michael and I do Pokemon card investing content. If you have tuned in before, or if you enjoy watching every video, thank you so much. Your support is really appreciated. I get heaps of nice emails and comments down below. It keeps the motivation levels up, doesn't it? Hey, I wanted to do something a little bit different today. We always talk about, or everyone always talks about the good sets. You know, we talk Prismatic Evolution, Surging Sparks, we talk Evo Skies, you talk Team Up. Everyone does that. But what about the battlers? And if you're an Aussie, Aussie, if you're an Aussie, you know about the battler phenomenon. You know, the great Aussie battler, we call it. I don't know if your US viewers have heard it, or European viewers, or South. God knows if any other countries really watch this. It's probably predominantly European American, but maybe there's some South American or Asian or even African countries watching. But anyway, if you're from those countries, you might not have heard of that philosophy when it comes to the great Aussie battler. But it's something we've always deemed, I suppose it's a sporting term. We like to see ourselves as the underdog, and it's great to see the underdog get a win and perform well. So, sometimes it would be nice in the Pokemon card investing world if we could see one of those underdog sets get up and perform well. And I want to talk to you about two sets today. They go hand in hand, Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift. Of course, Paradox Rift got released first, Temporal Forces afterwards. They introduced the ancient and future game mechanics. There's some subtle hints to, Area Zero if you've played the Game Boy, Nintendo. You can tell I was born in 1991, talking Game Boy. Black and white Game Boy, Pokemon Red. Anyway, if you've played the Nintendo Switch games, you've probably seen some subtle references to parts of the game inside these sets as well, which, that's the whole plan of this video. I'm going to get into some maybe positives around these sets and talk about the underdogs, how these sets aren't seen in the categories or the lights that I was talking about with some of those other sets, but they're probably a little bit better than what we give them credit for. I think our expectations around a Pokemon card set just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we expect every set to be absolutely phenomenal with sold out sales like Surging Sparks got, and booster boxes going from $100 rising up to 150, then 200 out of the gate because they're so good. And look, to be honest, that's not going to happen with every set. For a set to be good, it needs a reference point, and the reference point for good is average and bad. So we need bad sets and we need average sets to be able to recognize what even is a good set. And I'm not here saying, Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift are bad sets, and I'm not even here saying that they're average sets, but I'm also not saying that they're S-tier sets sitting in the same class as a set like Evolving Skies or Scarlet and Violet 151. But we've also got to give credit where credit's due. Now, let's delve into Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift a little bit. They've been out a little while now. One of the things that I think I've said all along with Scarlet and Violet era is I would not be surprised if some of the booster box sets don't get reprints, that we don't see reprints for booster boxes. We might see, packs thrown into ancillary products. We might see another reprint of Elite Trainer boxes, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these Scarlet and Violet sets don't get a reprint of booster boxes. It happened with Sword and Shield base, it happened with Rebel Clash, and look at the prices of those booster boxes. Now, they're worse sets than Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift are. And I'm not saying Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift are not going to get a booster box reprint. There's every chance they could. They're in rotation for a fair while longer. They've got very fresh game mechanics, and it'll be used throughout the TCG players base for quite some while. But there could be a chance that, something like an Obsidian Flames, a Paradox Rift, or a Temporal Forces doesn't get a reprint. If that's the case, it's worthwhile having a few of these booster boxes, or maybe, if you can spend a bit more money, a few cases of booster boxes, chilling in your collection, sitting in the wardrobe, because you never know how they're going to perform. But let's take a look at the numbers really quickly. Let's start with Paradox Rift, which come out first. $719 total set value. Now, in comparison, you'd think, oh, well, Temporal Force is better and it's got stronger special illustration rares. Total set value is $720. There's literally $1 difference in total set value between Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces. Now, to put that into a little bit of perspective, that's actually not far behind, and it's actually pretty much on par with a set like Brilliant Stars when it comes to total set value. And you might go, oh, well, where's the big hits inside these set? Because, like, Brilliant Stars has got the old Art Charizard. Yeah, well, it does. But I think these cards or these sets, they have a lot more depth. And look at them. For argument's sake, Paradox Rift, and these are big numbers. It has 13 special illustration rares and 34 illustration rares. In comparison, there's not quite as many in Temporal Forces. You're sitting on 10 special illustration rares there and 22 illustration rares. And just to give a shout out to a couple of cards inside these set, keep in mind the whole idea behind illustration rare and special illustration rare is to, this has come from the Pokemon company itself. And there you go, right on cue. I tell you that I don't have multiple takes in my videos. The lights have gone out in the back. Give me 2 seconds. Proves that we're always doing it on one take. So where do we get up to? Illustration rares. From the Pokemon company itself, the whole idea or premise behind an illustration rare or a special illustration rare is to bring your favorite Pokemon to life. And I think these sets do that phenomenally well. So let's give credit where credit's due with some of the artwork inside these sets. So starting with Paradox Rift, the #1 chase card now is the Groudon. And this is phenomenal artwork. I know it's not a special illustration rare, and perhaps it would have helped it if it was, but it's funny how some of the illustration rares are sitting at the #1 spot inside sets. Like Paldea Evolved has a Magikarp chilling at #1. And, talking through some of the beautiful artworks I love inside this set, the special illustration rare Altaria is really nice. I also think that's a touch undervalued. I think it's going for like $25, and it's a special illustration rare, and it's Altaria. Like, I know it's not the fan favorite, but it's also not a basement dweller, so to speak. It's got some level of popularity. And the Steelix artwork, this is one of my favorite illustration rares from the whole Scarlet and Violet era. This is a beautiful looking card and so cool as well. Steelix just helping out on the construction site there. Now, switching over to Temporal Forces, there's some really nice special illustration rares. We've got those, 4 ancient versions of some of the legendary Pokemon with Raging Bolt, for argument's sake, Walking Wake, Iron Leaves, just to name a few. And then we've got like this little throwback to a Gen 1 Gengar and Ghastly setup. We've got Morty's Conviction with Gengar coming out of the drain there, out of the manhole. We've got Ghastly as an illustration rare, which is a really, really nice illustration rare. And we've also got Metagross, which is also a really nice illustration rare. So if you look at these 2 sets, I think from a Pokemon card investing standpoint, there's actually a little bit of meat on the bone there. Not as much as, an Evolving Skies, maybe even not as much as a set like Fusion Strike or Chilling Reign, because total set value, they sit just below, a set like Fusion Strike or Lost Origin. But like I said, I feel like, if you just buy yourself 1 booster box and sit it there and go, well, it's not one of the best sets from Scarlet and Violet. I'm going to go, pennies all in on Surging Sparks and the Team Rocket booster box when it comes out, which is probably a great plan because I'm going to do the same. However, just having 1 box of Temporal Forces or Paradox Rift just doesn't feel enough. I feel like, maybe there's going to be some more demand for this set in the future. Perhaps, some of the kids that grew up with the game and this game mechanic and a lot of these modern Scarlet and Violet based Pokemon from Gen 9, maybe these are some of the sets they're going to look back to. And look, the artwork of those special illustration rares in Temporal Forces in particular are just beautiful. And again, I'm not saying these are great sets. I'm saying they're middle-of-the-road sets, but I think they deserve a little bit more credit on what they get. And sitting on just 1 booster box didn't feel right for me. I like to have everything displayed as a collection. So recently, while it's cheap, in comparison to Surging Sparks that you've got to pay, it's probably pushing $200 a booster box now, US, you can still pick these up for what feels like an absolute bargain. Like, they feel like good buying at the moment. And sometimes if something feels like good buying, it probably is. And hey, if they miss out on a booster box reprint, like I said, they're going to seem like an absolute bargain now in comparison to what price they'll be in 3 or 4 years. I'm Michael, this is Pokeoz, and I'll catch everyone next time.